It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Kevin Carr.
And this is It's Movie Time. Oh, Kevin, my literate co-host for today.
I'm just reading a book and eating a candy cane seductively.
I think, Kurt Vonnegut notwithstanding, we're probably a little more serious than even Vonnegut might be, because we're talking about movies for 2020, and particularly the Central Ohio Film Critics Association.
Yes.
Their #1 pick for 2020, Promising Young Woman.
Yes.
All right, and COFCA gets in there usually very early. We're a couple of months ahead of the Oscars.
Yeah.
And so,
well, it's all thrown off anyways.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I mean, because I think the Oscars aren't until like
March,
and I know the Critics' Choice are pushed out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know they did the whole end of the year list has been kind of thrown up into craziness.
So don't be surprised that we had that, because #2 is Nomadland, which I think is probably a better contender for the Oscar than Promising Young Woman. But you feel strongly, you feel you do support Kafka's award.
Well, yeah, not to bury the lead, but I did enjoy Promising Young Woman, and I think they're very different movies.
Boy,
what's more Oscar worthy? I think Nomadland probably has a better shot.
Yeah.
But for a regional film critics association, which is a smaller group of people, and can tend to go into a little bit more the non-traditional paths, I think Promising Young Woman isn't a surprise. I mean, we're the same group that said Mad Max Fury Road was the best movie of 2015.
Well, we were on top of Punch Drunk Love, I think, about
Punch Drunk Love. We were on top of Drive. We had Selma one year, so we oftentimes break from what the traditional lines are.
I mean, last year we had Parasite, which was pretty close to
That's everybody had Parasite.
Yeah. But before that, we had If Beale Street Could Talk, and that wasn't on everybody's
That
list.
wasn't on everyone's list. I think that did well. But also, like, we will sometimes give, as an awards group, we'll give it to awards to people who I don't think expected them. Like Rebecca Hall for Christine a couple years ago.
Oh, good one.
I remember she was actually kind of touched that we gave that to her.
Right.
She wasn't getting a whole lot of traction, but she was fantastic in that movie.
Well, Promising Young Woman, starring Carey Mulligan,
Yes.
who also won an award, I think, from COFCA. Is really about revenge. And some people would call it revenge porn. Would you see that?
I wouldn't call it revenge porn. I said this to my mom once when she said something about pornography. You gotta watch a little more pornography before you throw. You gotta watch some more revenge porn to understand why it's not that.
Yes.
I would say it's. I would frame Promising Young Woman as a movie about a societal issue.
Yeah.
Framed like an exploitation movie.
Good.
And it tackles this issue, which is a very real issue of, basically rape culture.
Sure.
But it tackles it in such a way, it almost feels like one of those grindhouse movies that would have been from the 70s of sexy babysitter coming to town. And I think that's what empowers it to do some of the more crazy stuff.
Yeah, so she plays Cassandra, appropriately, as she announces to the world, and I won't listen to her, about the harassment of men on women, particularly, and in her specific case, she plays when she's out as if she were drunk and vulnerable, and allows men to take her back.
She basically baits herself as the drunk girl who can't even stand, and finally basically hooks a guy who takes her back, and then we don't know what she does with them.
That supports your thesis that it really isn't revenge porn, because we don't see a bit of blood, I think, except maybe toward the end.
No, towards the end, but that's a little more personal. But I mean, I think, it's not like 30 minutes of, so it's not that exploitation. It's not like a horror movie where it's just 30, 40 minutes of her torturing guys. We don't know what happened. We get a little taste of, like, you're the person who did that to so-and-so, and you're like, well, we don't know what she did.
Yeah, I at first assumed she was murdering him, because I was expecting the strong revenge theme, the porn that we were talking about, and they play with it tonally.
Yeah.
Which really didn't confuse me. I'm used to this, but could be confusing for those who want to see either a comedy and or a hardcore revenge film.
Yeah.
You're-
And it's more cathartic, I would say. There are so many stories out there, and everybody's heard them, about some guy who, on a party or whatever, ends up date raping a woman. Ends up taking advantage of a woman who's either passed out or unable to take care of herself, or there's a group involved. And then when finally the chickens come home to roost for them and they get caught, they're like, oh, you were just kids and don't ruin my life and everything. And it's kicking that excuse to the curb and saying you're an adult, you're in med school, you can't just, oh, well, I didn't know. And it challenges that.
And I think the most usual setting for that would be a B movie about college kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's colleges and fraternities.
Well, they've done horror movies. There was a movie, one of the Unfriended movies, deals with that. And I mean, this is something that's come up ever since there. I mean, we had the group up in Youngstown, it was there was a group. There was like a group of high school kids, and they did that. They raped a girl, and then they're just like, oh, well, we didn't mean, and all the hemming and hawing and the judges who give them a pass and say, oh, we don't want to ruin their life. And, and those are just the cases they can
Would you be referring to Steubenville?
Steubenville is what I'm thinking of, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, Youngstown.
Oh, I know. Poor
shame
Youngstown's been flagellated enough.
Yeah.
For goodness sakes.
Yeah, the Steubenville rape case is exactly the kind of thing that goes on in this, and it challenges, and that's coming. They don't lay that out for you. That's I wouldn't say it's a revelation because it's pretty obviously she's taking revenge on this, but it's also her journey. It's not just that's why it's not just flat out a revenge film, because it's her journey of what revenge does to you.
And don't you think, and along with your thesis, we're really talking about the Me Too movement. We're talking about Harvey Weinstein.
Yep.
We're talking about all the places where men have taken advantage of women, that women are not taking it anymore.
Yeah.
And I thought this was, and that was, I agree with you. As an issue goes, this is really a good film.
Yeah. I mean, it's more than like something like, there's an exploitation movie from the 70s, the early 70s called I Spit on Your Grave, which I'm not saying to go watch it because it's rough to get through. But it's also called The Year of the Woman, I think is an alternate title. And it's about a woman taking revenge for being wrong. And I mean, that's your typical, but they set it up very similarly here, but without the graphic elements to it. And that's why I say it plays like, and that's because you get this weird sort of cathartic, oh, good for her feel.
Kevin, that's why I love having you on my show, because you can always dredge up some dross from somewhere in your memory. It's incredible, and I enjoy it very much. But what I think we need to do is a podcast about the COFCA choices, which I think we ought to do right after this.
Absolutely.
Because now we have just a limited time with our audience, and they're going to want to know, Kevin Carr, what grade you award this movie called Promising Young Woman.
Well, I am going to award it an A.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to award it a B+.
Okay.
And I think we really have an honest assessment here, and I think almost anybody, adult, could probably see this film.
It's very good to watch, and it's a good conversation starter.